Well, and out of curiosity, how many people were at my session yesterday? All right, quite a few of you. You're going to hear the same opening. Sorry, but... All right. Woody Allen once said, showing up is 80% of life. You should turn to the person next to you and say, congratulations, you showed up. Go ahead and do that. Turn to the person next to you and say, congratulations. You showed up. You're here. Now, in the next 55 minutes, you're going to have more responsibilities than just being here. Mainly, you're going to have two responsibilities. One responsibility is to make sure that you get something worthwhile, of interest, of value to you out of what takes place in this session. And the second responsibility is to make sure everyone else in this room gets something valuable and worthwhile to them out of what takes place in this session. And that means that how cooperative these people are is going to determine whether you have a hard or an easy session. So turn and take a careful look at the person on your left. Now turn and take a careful look at the person on your right. Look that way. And think to yourself, how cooperative do these people appear to be? And actually, I have a little test for you to find out. And that is, another American comedian, Will Rogers, once said, life is give and take. And a very famous American educator, Roger Johnson, once said, that's a very good definition of cooperation. You know, cooperation is give and take. So your next task is to turn to the person next to you, give them something, take something from them. Now, don't give them anything that you would miss, like your last piece of paper or a pen. But a breath mint is always good. But turn and give them something, take something from them. Give that to him. Okay. Now, if the person next to you said, I'm not giving you anything, and I don't want anything from you, then you know you're going to have a very hard time, you know, during this hour. Thank you. Thank you. That stopped my train of thought. All right. Now, what we're going to do in the next 55 minutes is to go through what is constructive controversy. And we're going to define it, and then we're going to go through a micro lesson to demonstrate it. And then we'll talk about the research behind it, And by that time, it'll be time to conclude. And everything that I tell you today was developed jointly with myself and my brother Roger. This is a picture of the two of us together. If you're ever in Minnesota, this will help you recognize Roger as you walk across campus. And if Roger were here, he would say that he is the taller one who's better looking on the right. And I'm the other one. Now, as many of you know, Roger and I, our brothers, were 18 months apart in age. He is the older brother. And we grew up mainly on a farm in Indiana, and we had a very intense sibling rivalry. We fought all the time. Now, we were also best friends, because on a farm, there's no one else to play with but your brother, and so we're best friends, but we also fought all the time. And we fought over one basic issue. And that is, Roger believes in his heart that the future of our world and the survival of our species depends on one basic principle, and that is respect for your elders. And he is elder. He is elder. I, of course, as the younger brother, said, no, everyone is equal. Everyone is equal. And now, just out of curiosity, turn to the person next to you and ask them, which one do you believe? That you should respect your elders, or is everyone equal? Just quickly ask them for an answer and see what they say. Okay. From their answer, you probably can tell where are they in the age of siblings. Are they the oldest child, or the youngest child? This is a more recent picture of Roger and I, just in case you ever do meet us. And now, in order to talk about the use of conflict in the classroom to promote higher level reasoning, critical thinking, deeper level understanding, creativity, etc., you need a group. You need someone to have a conflict with. And this is going to be difficult, but you are a very mature, skilled group of people, so I'm sure you can handle it. And that is, I want groups of 4. And so I want 4 people sitting side by side I want 4 people sitting side by side. 5 will not work, 3 will not work, it has to be 4. So some of you will have to move chairs. Some of you will have to move chairs. This gentleman, move over. Oh, okay. Pull him over. One of you needs to leave. Do you have a partner? could you move over with her? Okay. Now, again, you need to be in a group of 4. You need to be in a group of 4. Which most of you are. There are a few odd people sitting around, which means you'll have to change chairs to find a group of 4. See, there's 2 people. Do we need 2 more people to join them? Do you have 4? Good. All right. Now, in this group of 4, turn in, and again, you want to find out 3 things about these people. Find out what is their name. 2, what is their professional role? What do they do where? And 3, find out one of their favorite places in the world. And make sure it's a geographic spot. They can't just say home or bed, or garden. You have to have a specific geographic spot. So say, who are you? What do you do? What's one of your favorite places? Ouch. You too. I think there's a group of 3 right here. It's got to be 4. Got to be 4. So there's a group of 3 there. There's a group of 3 there. Okay, if you can hear me, raise your hand. If you can hear me, raise your hand. And turn to page 3 in your packet. Turn to page 3. Now, the first thing I'll say briefly, and then we'll come back to it at the very end, is that after cooperative learning, conflict is the teacher's best friend. And that is, there's a great deal of benefits to having students disagree and argue with each other. And some of these benefits are it increases energy, it focuses attention, it increases motivation to learn, it results in higher quality and more creative decisions, it strengthens relationships, etc. And as a brief example of this, if you were going to write a mystery or a romance novel, there's a rule that in the first 3 pages of the book, there has to be a major conflict. Because if there isn't a major conflict, people will get bored and put the book down and not read it. If you're writing a screenplay or a television show, the rule is that in the first 30 seconds, there has to be a conflict. Because if there isn't a conflict, people will get bored and change the channel. You know, conflict directs and holds attention. It creates curiosity. It gets people thinking. It draws them in to what you're doing. One of the implications of this is if you're teaching a class right after lunch, when students are sleepy, you have about a minute or so to create a conflict before they drift off, you know, and start thinking about email or taking a nap. So you want to create, most classrooms suffer from too little conflict. You want to create far more conflict within your classrooms. And then I just also might want to emphasize at the beginning is that conflict is the key to creativity. If you want students to think in creative ways, you have to have someone disagree with them, challenge their thinking, make them unsure so that they rethink through the process again. The most uncreative situation you can have is for everyone to think the same way, or for a teacher to say never disagree with anyone in the classroom. Now, and with this, I just want to make a point which will take a long time to talk about if I stop, but creativity is really a process of a group, not an individual. There are not creative individuals. There are creative processes that happen within a group. And almost all great creative achievements that you've seen in your lifetime or before come from a group process, not a individual person thinking on their own by themselves, etc. Now, the definition of controversy, what we mean by conflict in this case, which is on page 3, this is a conflict among ideas, opinions, attitudes, beliefs, theories, and you have a conflict when incompatible conclusions are shared within a group. And the key is seeking to reach an agreement. Two people can disagree and live side by side for a long time until they're asked to make a decision about what it is that they disagree about. When they're asked to make a decision, the conflict comes to the fore, and then they have to engage in an argumentation process to resolve their differences. And there's a long history of this being recommended in life in general, in political systems, and in the classroom. And one, of course, is John Stuart Mill, who said that any opinion you have is never or rarely the whole truth. And it's only by sitting down with someone who disagrees with you and arguing it out that the whole truth may be discovered. All right, now this brings us to the controversy procedure. And I'm going to have you walk through this so that you can get a feel for it as well as to hear about it intellectually. But there are basically 5 steps. Number 1, you'll be assigned a position. And your task is to make the best case possible for your assigned condition or position, to make sure it gets a fair and complete hearing within the group. The second part is you present your position to another student or to the group as a whole, and as persuasively and convincingly as possible. The third step is there's an open discussion. And the key part of this open discussion is you want to give the opposing position a trial by fire. You want to criticize it, try to disprove it, show all the inadequacies of the opposing position that you possibly can. And then the fourth step is a perspective reversal. Each of you will reverse perspectives and you'll present the opposing position, the best case for the opposing position. And then the final stage is you drop all advocacy. And you just, you drop all advocacy and say, what is our best reasoned judgment about this issue, trying to hold both perspectives in mind at the same time. If you turn to page 4 in your packet. You will see the controversy we're going to have this morning. And that is, I'm assuming everyone knows the story of Peter Pan. Is there anyone who doesn't know who Peter Pan is? Is there anyone here who's never heard of Peter Pan? Good. Well, Peter Pan, as you know, lived in Never Never Land and headed a group of, quote, lost boys, unquote. And they stayed young. They stayed 10 years old forever. They never grow old. And Wendy, a girl, joined them for a while in the story, but she left. And she had the choice. She could stay in Never Never Land and always be 10 and never grow old, or she could go home, back to her parents, and go through adolescence, get married, have children, get old, and die. And so you decide, was Peter Pan right or wrong? Is it better to stay young forever, or is it better to go through the stages of life and end up dying at the end? And so in your group of 4, I'm going to split you into 2 pairs. And the 2 that are closest to that wall, you have the position that Peter Pan was right. It's better to stay young. And what you need to do in the next few minutes is get 2 or 3 good arguments on why you should always be 10 years old forever. The 2 in your group that are closest to that wall, you have the position that it's better to grow old, that Wendy was right. And you need to get 2 or 3 good arguments for why it is better to grow old. And your task will be to persuade the other side to agree with you. This is a persuasive argument. So you want good arguments, good good arguments arranged in a logical order that will convince the other side to agree with you. If you're in a foursome that two of you are sitting in front of the other, those of you closest to me, you have the position Peter Pan was right. It's better to stay young. Those nearest the back of the room, it's better to grow old. All right. I will give you 3 or 4 minutes only for this. Turn to your partner and say, let's write down 3 or 4 arguments to support our position. Let's write down 3 or 4 arguments to support our position.
Documents. We have no documents.
Yes, I don't think you need it. Just work from this.
Hello.
Okay, 2 of you should be.
Yes, we are.
You're not yet. Do you write down 3 or 4 positions, arguments?
Okay, we write it now.
Okay, do you have 3 or 4 arguments?
Yes, they have the arguments as well. We are talking about the arguments.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
No arguments. Only the positions. Only
No,
the
still
ideas.
try to improve your arguments.
Okay.
Try to improve your arguments.
We have a lot of ideas.
Good. Okay. All right. If you can hear me, raise your hand. Now, I'm going to give you 30 seconds more, but I want to remind you that an academic argument or a philosophical argument has 3 parts. There's first a thesis statement. Say, what is our position? So the thesis statement's going to be, it is better to stay young, or it is better to grow old, one or the other. Second, there's a rationale, saying given A, given B, given C, here are the reasons. But they need to be arranged in a logical order so that they lead to a conclusion, saying given A, given B, given C, therefore, it's better to stay young. And the conclusion is the same as your thesis. So look at the arguments you have so far See if you can get them in a compelling order that will, if the other side accepts your arguments, they just have to accept your conclusion because because it's logically arranged that way. All right, 30 seconds more. Just check the logic of your arguments, see how you want to order them. Okay. All right. Now, here comes a difficult part again. I want the two people in the middle of your group to change chairs. The two people in the middle of your group to change chairs. I want a stay young and a grow old person sitting beside each other. Okay. Now, a stay young and a grow old person should be sitting together. And I'm going to give you each 90 seconds to present the best case possible for your position. So when I say go, one of you will say, you'll start out with the stay young side. And the person who stay young will say, look, I'm going to convince you that it's better to stay young. And say, here are my arguments, A, B, C, therefore it's better to stay young. After 90 seconds, I'll call time, you'll switch. And the grow old person will have 90 seconds to present. When the other person is presenting, take notes, listen carefully. You need to criticize this position later, and the better you know it, the more incisive your criticisms will be. Okay, stay young, people. You have 90 seconds. Begin. Okay. All right. Sorry about this. This is a micro lesson. In your own classrooms, you would give everyone enough time to do this well. But since this is a micro lesson and we only have a few minutes, I'm walking you through the structure. But I probably never will give you enough time. So sorry. Okay, the grow old person. You have 90 seconds to present your best case to the other person. Okay. If you can hear me, raise your hand. Now, the next step is an open discussion, and you'll have about 4 minutes for this, not very long at all. But your primary task is to challenge and try to disconfirm the opposing position. So you should say to the other person, here's what's wrong with your information, here's what's wrong with your logic, here's why your position really will not stand up under critical scrutiny. And now as you do this, you have to keep several skills in mind, only one of which I will talk about now. And that is, you want to make your arguing about the ideas, not about the person. If you attack the person, if you say that you have stupid arguments and you are a very stupid person, what happens is they get very defensive, they get closed-minded, and they will not listen to you. Instead, there's a skill called confirming the other's competence while disagreeing with their ideas. That is, you want to make the other person feel very respected and very appreciative of the hard work they've done to prepare their position, but you still want to disagree with their ideas. So you may turn to your partner and say, it's clear to me you're a very smart person. And for a very smart person, you are very mistaken about your position on this. And here is why. You want to confirm their competence while destroying their ideas, while disagreeing with their ideas. Okay, you have about 4 minutes. Anybody can talk at any time. This is a free and open discussion, but make sure you challenge the opposing view. Yeah, no, just one-on-one. Just still in your pairs. Twos. Okay, if you can hear me, raise your hand. Well, this always hurts me as a teacher. There are some very good conversations going on. I really hate to interrupt them, but I have to. Now, the next stage is perspective reversal. And that is, according to Piaget, according to many other people who have focused on this issue, you can only come to the best decision at the end if you can hold both perspectives in mind at the same time. So just to help you get the other perspective in mind as well as your own, you're going to reverse roles, reverse positions. And so when I say go, the stay young person will have 90 seconds to make several of the arguments for why it's better to grow old. And when they're done, we'll have the grow old person make several arguments about why it's better to stay young. And you will reverse perspectives on this. And this will tell you how well you listened to the other point of view, by the way. All right, stay young person, give the best case possible for growing old. You have 90 seconds.
Minutes.
5 minutes?
No, 10. 10. Okay. Before this.
15. 15.
Half 10 minutes. Oh.
Okay. Reverse. Now the grow old person present the best case for staying young. You have 90 seconds. Begin. Okay, if you can hear me, raise your hand. Now, the final step on this is to drop all advocacy. You are no longer stay young, grow old. Instead, trying to hold both perspectives in mind, say, what is our best reasoned judgment about this issue? And try to come to an agreement with the other person that you've been arguing with. Say, what is our best reasoned judgment, holding the best thinking from both sides in mind? You'll only have 2 minutes, sorry, but turn in and say, okay, what's our best reasoned judgment? Okay, if you can hear me, raise your hand. Sorry about this, but we really are running out of time, so I have to push it. The next step is group processing. And so turn back to the person you've been arguing with and finish the sentence. Say, one thing I really enjoyed about arguing with you is, and give them some positive but specific and honest feedback about something they did during the argument. Say, one thing I liked about the way you liked about arguing with you is. Okay, you have about 30 seconds each. Turn in and finish that sentence. Okay, if you can hear me, raise your hand. And of course, group processing is always followed by group celebration. Turn to your partner, give them a high five, and say, "We were awesome. You know, we were awesome." Okay. Now, I'm going to keep you 2 minutes over, but I'm going to say one or two, so I can say one or two things about the theory and research. One is, that like everything Roger and I do, there is a set of research studies behind this and a theory. And actually, we have a new book out that just came out a few weeks ago that's on Amazon if you want to really read the research in depth. But the way this works is that you ask people, is it better to stay young or grow old? And they say, aha, I know, I have an answer. That's at the top here. Then you confront them with someone who has a different point of view, a disputed passage. And that leads to what's called uncertainty, disequilibrium, or cognitive conflict. And that uncertainty then leads to rethinking the issue and reconsidering it and gaining a new perspective on it. And then you move back up and say, aha, now I know. Now I really know. And as a teacher, you try to keep the cycle going for as long as time will allow. Now, the result is increased motivation, insight into other people's perspectives, higher level reasoning, critical thinking, creativity, a whole bunch of very good outcomes, including more positive relationships among students. And this is in your packet, but there are a set of effect sizes around to summarize the research. And just for your information, this process promotes a higher level of moral reasoning than does concurrent seeking, individualistic learning, et cetera. Now, I don't want to end, but I have to. But one of my favorite proverbs right now, and this comes from an Arab culture, and you have to imagine yourself living in the middle of the Sahara Desert. And what it says is, while you wander through the desert, which is very, very hot during the day, very cold at night, say, we have all warmed ourselves at fires that we did not build, and we've all drunk from wells that we did not dig. And with this process, you try to get students to drink from each other's wells and warm themselves from each other's fires of what they know and what they understand. All right, turn to your partner, say thank you, and have a good day.